Most men live in complete ignorance of how fast a woman picks up on shifts in attention. You might think you're being subtle, quietly pulling back your effort, texting a little less, or taking longer to respond, but to her, the change is instant and unmistakable. The exact second your genuine interest fades, her internal radar goes off, and the entire power dynamic between you flips on its axis. You assume you're just taking a breather or testing the waters, but from her side, the solid ground beneath the connection just completely shifted. How a woman reacts in the immediate aftermath of sensing your disinterest exposes her true feelings, motives, and character far more accurately than any sweet words or declarations she has ever told you to your face. Range of her behavior in this moment will throw most guys off because women do not react in just one predictable way. One woman might instantly panic and flood your phone with messages, desperate to fix whatever broke. Another woman might act completely ice cold, staring right through you as if you never mattered to her at all. Then there's the woman who suddenly turns into the ultimate pursuer, chasing you with an intensity she never showed back when you were giving her all your attention. None of these reactions happen by accident. When a man's interest vanishes, it hits a woman directly in her deepest psychological triggers. It triggers her ego, challenges her pride, and forces her to face the immediate fear of no longer being desired by a man she was comfortable with. Here is where the vast majority of men completely ruin their leverage. The moment she reacts, your ego tricks you into thinking you've won. You convince yourself that because she's acting bothered, nervous, or suddenly attentive, you are now in total control of the ship. You assume it's an open invitation to start playing mind games, acting impossibly hard to get, or pulling away even further just to watch her squirm. That is a massive mistake. Her reaction isn't an invitation for you to play games. It is an immediate survival response. The second she feels your attention slipping, her mind kicks straight into self-preservation mode to protect her own emotional safety. Inside her head, a high-speed assessment is taking place. She isn't thinking about how to stroke your ego. She's asking herself hard, protective questions. Why is he pulling away? Is there another woman? Did I do something to lower my value in his eyes? Should I step up and fix this? Or should I pull back right now and cut my losses before I get completely humiliated? Depending entirely on her level of self-esteem, her emotional maturity, and how much she actually valued you in the first place, her outward behavior will look wildly different. If you don't understand the raw psychological truth driving her behavior from a female perspective, you will misread every single sign she gives you. But once you truly grasp what is happening under the surface, the guessing games end instantly. You stop desperately looking to her for validation or clarity, and you finally start reading the dynamic with crystal clear precision. Her ego takes the first hit. When a woman first realizes you are losing interest, her ego registers the hit long before her heart ever does. You have to understand that in modern dating dynamics, women are conditioned to receive baseline attention, pursuit, and validation from men. Constant attention from a guy she is seeing acts as a steady confirmation of her power, her dynamic placement, and her overall desirability. The exact second that attention disappears, it doesn't immediately cause heartbreak. It causes an intense, sudden bruise to her pride. She is naturally accustomed to being the one who sets the pace, decides the direction, and receives the effort. When you unexpectedly cut off that supply, it feels like an unexpected rejection she never saw coming, completely throwing off her sense of control. It always begins with the smallest, most subtle details that most men don't even realize they're projecting. Your texts become slightly shorter, your response times stretch from minutes to hours, or you simply stop initiating the weekend plans you used to set up automatically. At first, she refuses to believe you are actually pulling away. Her pride steps in to protect itself, making up convenient excuses on your behalf. She tells herself, you're just having a stressful week at work, that you're overwhelmed, or that your phone is buried under paperwork. But as the low effort pattern continues day after day, those neat little excuses start to crumble, and her ego takes a direct, stinging hit that demands an immediate response. This bruised pride forces her into one of two extreme behavioral reactions, and as a man, you have to read them correctly. The first type of woman will immediately overcompensate. She will suddenly turn up the charm, send sweeter texts, flirt far more aggressively, and actively chase your attention. Most guys fall into the trap of thinking, wow, she's finally realizing how much she loves me. But that's a complete illusion. She isn't chasing you out of deep, sudden affection. She is chasing you to win back the validation she just lost and restore her own ego. The second type of woman swings in the complete opposite direction, instantly becoming distant, ice cold, and dismissive. This is a classic defense mechanism designed to protect her pride from the humiliation of being left behind. You must understand that this initial wave of behavior isn't about how deeply she values your soul. It is entirely about how deeply she values feeling wanted, pursued, and in control of the dynamic. The panic behind the calm, on the outside, the vast majority of women will display an absolute masterclass in acting, completely unbothered when you pull away. She will smile, drop casual jokes, keep up normal conversations, and act as if she hasn't noticed a single change in your behavior. If you ask her if everything is fine, she'll give you a breezy, nonchalant reply that makes you think your absence hasn't affected her at all. But make no mistake about it. Behind that cool, unbothered exterior, an internal storm of panic is brewing. Women are hyper-tuned to microscopic shifts in human energy and behavior. They pick up on the slight drop in enthusiasm in your voice, the minor delay in your texting cadence, or the subtle cooling of your body language long before you ever put those feelings into words. The moment she senses that shift, her internal sense of security shatters, and her mind instantly enters a high-speed spiral of anxious questions. She sits there replaying recent interactions over and over in her head, asking herself, did I say something wrong? Did I come on too strong? Is he just genuinely busy, or is he quietly talking to someone else? You need to realize that this internal panic rarely stems from pure romantic heartbreak. Instead, it is fueled by the terrifying fear of losing control, being replaced by another woman, or being discarded without warning. The comfort of knowing you were fully hooked on her provided a safety net, and your sudden disinterest just ripped that safety net away, leaving her utterly unsettled. Because admitting this panic directly would make her look weak or overly invested, she will almost never confront you about it directly. Instead, that hidden anxiety leaks out through subtle, indirect behaviors designed to force a reaction out of you. She might start making sharp, sarcastic comments out of nowhere. Or she might orchestrate small strategic tests, like casually bringing up another guy or ignoring your messages for a day just to see if you still care enough to get defensive. Alternatively, she might throw up an armor of total exaggerated detachment, pretending you don't even exist. Never take her calm face, sarcastic humor, or cold attitude at face value. It is almost always a carefully constructed shield designed to hide the quiet, chaotic storm happening right under the surface. Why she suddenly starts testing you. The second uncertainty creeps into her mind, a woman will instinctively start testing you to regain her bearings. You need to understand right now that these tests are never random, accidental, or mindless drama. They are calculated, subconscious moves designed to probe the current dynamic and uncover your true intentions. When you pull away, she finds herself in an uncomfortable gray area where she can no longer read your mind. She desperately needs to know whether your distance is coming from genuine disinterest, a busy life, or if you're just playing a cheap tactical game to see how she reacts. Because asking you directly often yields vague answers or makes her look needy. Pushing your buttons and challenging your boundaries becomes her fastest, most reliable tool to get the truth. These tests show up in very specific, recognizable patterns that every man needs to memorize. One day, she might go completely dead silent, withholding her usual texts just to see if you panic and chase after her. Another day, she might casually drop another guy's name into conversation or mention an ex, explicitly checking to see if your jealousy gets triggered. She might even flip the script entirely and shower you with an unexpected wave of sweet affection, watching closely to see if you immediately fold, drop your standards, and run back into her arms. Every single one of these behaviors is a probe. She is trying to answer one core question. Does this man still care enough to lose his composure, or has he genuinely moved on? This is where the vast majority of men fail miserably and destroy their leverage. When faced with these sudden tests, most guys become defensive, get visibly annoyed, start arguing, or hurry to shower her with reassurance to smooth things over. When you overreact, get flustered, or rush to fix the mood, you fall directly into her trap. You prove to her that her little maneuver worked perfectly, immediately exposing your emotional dependence and handing all the power straight back to her. On the flip side, when you remain entirely calm, grounded, and unbothered by her testing, you send a massive signal of strength. Holding a steady demeanor proves that you are a high-value man who cannot be easily manipulated, shaken, or baited into petty games. The silent shift in power. The exact moment a woman realizes that your disinterest is real, an invisible yet massive shift in power takes place between you two. Up until that point, she comfortably held the upper hand in the interaction because she was the sole recipient of your time, your focus, your energy, and your pursuit. In the world of modern dating, a man's focused interest is the most valuable currency he can offer. As long as you were freely spending that currency on her without hesitation, she was in total control and could easily dictate the pace, direction, and terms of the relationship. But the second you stop handing out that attention for free, her ability to dictate the dynamic completely collapses. This sudden drought forces her out of the comfortable position of being relentlessly pursued and thrusts her into the uncomfortable cold of complete uncertainty. The dynamic flips, and for the first time, she is the one placed on the defensive. Her mind starts spinning with self-reflective questions she never had to ask before. Am I taking him for granted? Should I be putting in more effort? Did I push a good man away with my attitude? She goes from feeling completely secure in your desire to questioning whether she is about to lose you entirely. This switch in perspective forces her to confront your value in a way she never did when you were constantly available and easy to manage. How you handle this delicate transition dictates everything that happens next. If you get anxious during this power shift, feel guilty about the distance, and rush in to fill the silence with eager affection, you completely surrender your newfound leverage and reset the dynamic back to where it started. But if you maintain your composure, stay centered in your own life, and remain completely unbothered by the space between you, you hold your position of strength. Staying steady forces her to look in the mirror and make a real decision. It compels her to evaluate whether she truly values your presence enough to step up, adjust her behavior, and match your energy with genuine effort of her own. When curiosity turns into obsession, if your disinterest stays calm, steady, and completely consistent over time, Her initial curiosity undergoes a massive transformation and turns into full-blown obsession. You have to realize that women inherently detest open-ended uncertainty in their romantic dynamics. When you suddenly withdraw your regular attention, you create a massive emotional void, and her mind simply cannot leave that void unfilled. That empty gap forces her to start digging for logical answers to explain why you changed. She will spend hours analyzing every tiny detail, backtracking through weeks of old text conversations to see where your tone shifted, scrutinizing how you interact with other people on social media, and obsessively asking herself why a man who used to pursue her nonstop suddenly doesn't seem to care if she exists or not. To understand how this looks in the real world, picture a very common scenario. She is completely accustomed to waking up to your regular morning text message, giving her an easy dose of validation before her day even starts. But now, 2 full days pass with absolute radio silence from your end. Outwardly, she puts on a tough front, telling herself that she couldn't care less and that she isn't going to break first. Yet late at night, when the world quietens down, she finds herself staring at her phone, compulsively refreshing your social media profile, checking your active status, and looking for subtle clues about what you're doing. By stepping back and holding your ground, your complete absence creates an irresistible veil of mystery. When you are constantly available, reachable, and predictable, there is zero reason for her to think about you because the problem is solved. But the exact second you step back and stay silent, you transform into an unsolved puzzle that completely dominates her thoughts. The point where she lets go, however, this dynamic has an expiration date, and there is a critical threshold every single woman eventually reaches. The point where she stops reacting, stops testing, and permanently lets go. After she has cycled all the way through the bruised ego, the internal panic, the frantic testing, and the lingering obsession, extended disinterest inevitably leads to complete emotional detachment. Once she realizes that your energy is genuinely gone for good and isn't coming back, her mind quietly makes peace with that reality. She stops fighting for your attention, stops looking for answers, and silently closes the door on the connection once and for all. This is the exact stage where far too many men make a fatal mistake by misreading her complete silence as a massive victory. You see her stop complaining, stop asking where you are, and stop making demands. And you arrogantly assume she has finally learned her lesson, become low maintenance, or is just patiently waiting around for you to reach out when you feel like it. In reality, her absolute silence is the ultimate warning sign. It means she has officially checked out emotionally. Once a woman crosses that line into true detachment, her focus permanently shifts away from you and redirects toward her own life, her personal goals, or another man who is actively showing clear intent and effort. You cannot use distance or playing hard to get to win a woman back once she has reached this final stage. While temporary disinterest can trigger powerful short-term intrigue, dragging it out too long simply destroys the connection beyond repair. The lesson most men ignore. The ultimate truth that most men completely overlook is that a woman's reaction to your lost interest is nothing more than a direct mirror reflecting your overall energy, confidence, and personal boundaries. Way too many guys fall into the lazy trap of believing that pulling away is some sort of guaranteed golden magic trick that will automatically force any woman to run after them on her knees. But you need to understand that women possess an incredible radar for authenticity. They can spot genuine high-value confidence and fake manipulative mind games from a mile away. Withdrawing your attention without any real purpose, clarity, or underlying standards doesn't make you look like a dark, mysterious man of mystery. It simply exposes a total lack of emotional maturity and an inability to communicate like an adult. If you are using fake disinterest as a cheap, sneaky tactic just to manipulate her emotions, the strategy will backfire on you hard. She might take the bait and chase you briefly in the very beginning, but that initial chase is purely fueled by her bruised ego trying to reclaim control. Not because she genuinely respects you as a man. The exact second she sees through the gimmick and realizes you lack real depth, core values, and purpose outside of playing dating games, her respect for you will instantly drop to absolute zero. Once her respect vanishes, her desire follows right behind it, and she will walk away permanently without ever looking back. You need to sit down and ask yourself the brutally honest question: why am I pulling back in the first place? Were you genuinely losing interest because your values didn't align? Were you feeling intimidated? Or were you just bored and looking for a power trip? Real, unbreakable attraction is never constructed on fake absence or staged silence. It is built on unshakable self-respect, clear intent, and solid boundaries that you enforce consistently. Conclusion. At the very end of the day, how a woman responds when you step back strips away all the nonsense and reveals the raw, unfiltered truth about your dynamic. You simply cannot rely on gimmicks, pickup tricks, or artificial emotional distance if you want to build deep, lasting attraction with a high-value woman. Playing hard to get might grab her temporary attention, but true presence, grounded self-respect, and consistent action are the only qualities that actually command long-term loyalty and genuine desire. When you master your own life, enforce real standards, and lead with complete clarity, you never have to fake disinterest just to feel like you hold the upper hand in a relationship. Take a second right now to look back and honestly reflect on the last time a woman noticed you pulling your energy away from her. How did she actually react in that moment? And more importantly, what did her reaction teach you about your own behavior, your confidence, and the way you handle power dynamics? Drop your real world experiences, wins, and mistakes down in the comments below so we can break them down and discuss them together. It is time to stop chasing cheap dating tactics. Stop trying to manipulate people with fake absence and start mastering your own core energy so you can build the kind of authentic value that commands respect naturally.